Hello there, people. It is the 12th of February and it is a Wednesday. Welcome to the African Queen Mo Show. Today we're going to be discussing the Kenya constitutional upheaval. I bet many of you guys know what's going on, yeah? And also the Congo highlights. DRC Congo, what's happening in DRC Congo and why? And when did it start and why did it start? Yeah? Today I'm going to be joined by two people and I'm looking forward to discussing this stuff with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember that we have the StreamYard, and you can go in there. The right over there is the link. It's showing up, streamyard.com. You're welcome to join us in the comment section. This should be of interest to anybody who is interested in Kenya, anybody who's interested in Africa and in geopolitics, in what's happening, all over the world. Yeah. Now, I want to kind of frame this today's topic in light of things that we have discussed in the past. All right. So, as we know, I've got we. I remember the last time Susan, our lawyer, my colleague and co-host, who's going to be joining us. She's in the studio. She's going to be joining us. But there's one time we talked about the post-truth era, guys. Yeah. And there are a few pointers, that I got from that particular show that were that was stated by both of us here. And these are some of them. Let me remind you what they were. Let me put on my glasses. Government that does not obey court orders. Okay. So, for example, when they're talking about the IEBC, they were talking about in 30 days we're going to constitute a commission, and they did not do it, right? They did not do it. And then from there we learned that honesty in public life depends on truth. Okay? Truth is very important. Yeah. So we are, but the problem is most people are interested in winning than in telling the truth. And there's no better time to see that people are just interested in winning, as opposed to, building trust with the community, with the society, the population, yeah, the voters. And there's no way that a free society can function with the abuse of trust. All right. And one of the foundations and one of our, very important institutions is the judiciary. The judiciary is the one that is actually holding us down to our morals, yeah, to ethics. Okay. We are living in a post truth era, obviously, and I'm sure Susan will say a lot about that. Again, a few pointers I've picked up from listening to the news is that, every economy, okay, this is all tied up to our economy. Every economy model shows that we need a middle class that is growing, okay, a strong middle class. Unfortunately, like in most African countries, the middle class, instead of growing, it's shrinking. Yeah. So, what does that do? It actually is a big shakedown on our economy. Yeah. Our country, Kenya, is actually driven on agriculture. Okay. It's based on agriculture. The informal sector employs about 80% of the population. And that population of employers, who is the informal sector, they need incentives. They don't need additional taxation. Okay. And unfortunately, this particular government has decided that taxing Kenyans is the way to go. Yeah. As opposed to learning from the previous regime, especially Kibaki's regime, where they did not borrow domestically and where then small and micro enterprises had access to funds from the banks. Okay. So, why do I talk about this in relation to the Kenya constitutional upheaval? The constitution is being violated on all counts because it means that Kenyans' rights to healthcare, to water, to education are all affected, are all compromised because of high taxation, because of not speaking truth, because of not obeying court orders, yeah, or court judgments in that matter. Yeah. Again, I also picked up some very interesting quotes today. One of them is that money hates noise. Money hates noise. And unfortunately, our parliament is noisy. So noisy. Yeah. And unfortunately, it is noisy. So, this is the reason why they say today they told us that Banks are so quiet because they have so much money in them. Yeah. So, just again, investors hate noisy countries. Countries where there's so much noise about politics affects international investments and also investors and also local investors. And the question is Kenya or is your country, whichever country it is, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, is it considered a preferred investment environment? What does it take to have a good investment regime? A good investment environment. What are investors looking for? First of all, they're looking to ensure that the country follows the law, that we are not all the time politicking. And like our politics is so toxic and it's inversely related to the investment climate. Okay. So, apart from things like predictable taxation, cost of production, and things like that, okay, investors are looking for predictable and fair policy and implementation of that policy. All right. So, now what's going to happen here? Now, we can see that there's upheaval. We are being promised upheaval in Parliament. All right. And unfortunately, what that does is create more noise, and that is not going to help investors be interested in our country. And now I would like to invite Susan to join us on that note. Giving you guys that background, understanding that money hates noise, and yet our countries are so noisy. Our politicians are so noisy. And in fact, if you watch a lot of the interviews, sometimes you can't even participate or you can't even understand what they're saying. If, for example, the media stations invite panelists, you'll always see one token woman. One. If it's a panel of four, there's only one token woman. I don't know why they don't like to have more than one woman. Again, it's always very noisy. People have no sense of decorum. Most people have no decorum and they don't give people opportunity to speak. Unlike our show, we're going to give opportunity to speak. I've said my 25,000 words to you guys so far, and now I'm going to bring on the experts, starting with Susan, who is our lawyer. She's going to explain to us why it is that Kenya is facing a constitutional upheaval at the moment. We are in a crisis, a constitutional crisis. Welcome, Susan, to the show. Karibu.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Thank you, Queen Mo.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
indeed. Yeah. Yes, indeed. There's been a lot of drama in the House, the National Assembly. They resumed on Tuesday, and that's when there was a competition for the majority seat. Azimio, of course, were claiming that's their seat, and then we had uh, Kenya Kwanza, saying that no, that's not the situation. So anyway, after a lot of debate regarding the court order that was issued, in that court order, the judge, it was a very long. The judgment was by a three-bench court addressing that issue. It was like I said in the last show, it was a case that was filed in October of 2022 after the speaker, Wetangula, made a ruling on the who was the majority member, which was the majority party in the House. So remember, when we're talking about majority and minority, we're talking about the number of members, not the number of parties. So you may have more parties on your side, but you have fewer numbers because maybe some parties have a huge representation, like ODM has up to 83 members of parliament, and they are in Azimio. So anyway, so what happened is that after that court ruling, where they said that Kenya Kwanza is not the majority party, arguing that the reason why they're saying that is that the Kenya Gazette, as at the time after the election that was issued on instructions of IEBC, who are the ones who are legally and constitutionally mandated to make that, to do the election, said that gave us specific numbers about how many seats were won by this party and how many seats were won by the other party. Um, and the argument is that that's what how the court was arguing. They're saying that the numbers that were given as at after the election, that Azimio had 171 and Kenya Kwanza had 165. That is what was written in the Gazette notice at that time. That is what they went by, saying that they had not received any documents from the registrar of political parties that would show anything to the contrary. Now, listening to Wetangula, where he made his ruling, and he said that Kenya Kwanza is not that Kenya Kwanza is the majority party, that nothing has changed, that they has not received any notices for change of leadership from the respective parties. He also said that and he counted them, and there was an issue of some 14 members who changed sides after the election, and they come from 4 parties, and so he counted them as part of the Kenya Kwanza team. And from what I heard, he was saying that he had received some documents from the registrar of political parties, which supported his position. The question, of course, here is that the court has made a decision on the issue. It has not. I don't know whether there's any appeal pending, but or what action has been taken on that side. And that would be the right thing to do, is to appeal the decision of the court. That Wetangula is arguing that the parliament has because of separation of powers. We have just to explain that a little bit. In Kenya, we have 3 arms of government. So we have the we have what you call separation of powers, and we have 3 arms of government. So we have the legislature, which is parliament, and which is bicameral, which has the National Assembly and Senate, and then we have the judiciary, and then we also have the executive. So each has its role to play in our system, and Kenya has what we call a presidential system. So each has its role to play. So he's saying that the courts cannot interfere with any of the interactions that are in parliament. So he's sort of ignoring the court order and claiming that he really studied that court order, that he did not address the elephant in the room, that there was a court order, and can he really ignore it? Some members in the House were imploring him to follow procedure, to observe the rule of law, and not to take any action or even ignore what the judges had said. But he was, he said that they did not say that Azimio was the majority party in parliament. So the question again was argued by another lawyer, saying that really it's not about, they didn't need to say that. When they said that Kenya Kwanza was not the majority party in the House, then it would fall back, and you'd need to count again and see who is. And at that time, the 2 questions, of course, were whether it was Azimio or whether it was Kenya Kwanza, because Azimio moved the court at that time because they were concerned. In their view, they had more members than Kenya Kwanza. Of course, there's the big issue and an integrity issue of why changing shape after you've been elected on a certain ticket, and then you decide you're going to move from one coalition to the other coalition. So this movement of the 14 was made post-election. So they just moved. They didn't move out of their parties, but they moved from one coalition to the other coalition. They entered into agreements about that. So that's a hot potato. That's a tough argument, this discussion to have. That I think from the lawyer's perspective and from the point that Nobody's above the law, and the rule of law is there for a reason. And the court was exercising its jurisdiction under the constitution. Was a question was brought before it. The three-judge bench determined and made a number of determinations. For instance, that the Wetangula cannot be the leader of a political party and be the Speaker of the National Assembly. That's irregular, and they said that is, unlawful. So he cannot continue to be the leader of Ford Kenya, if he is the Speaker of the House. He did try to argue that there are many speakers who have sat. This will make perhaps an advancement on that. He didn't really talk much about that, at least the segments that I heard, to challenge that. But he sort of said that there's precedent in the House where two other speakers have listened to questions that have been raised in the National Assembly that involved them. There was Muturi, and there was also Ole Kaparo some years ago. They're talking about seventh and ninth Parliament, where the speakers were under the members of the House were questioning their legality. And he said that they presided over those cases. The speakers presided over those two hearings and those two sessions, and they still made rulings. So he was trying to argue that, notwithstanding the fact that the issue is about him, that he cannot legitimately be the speaker and still continue to be the leader of Ford Kenya. He said that he was trying to argue that he can continue to do that, but really it's an issue of integrity. If you ask me, it boils down to how you view, integrity. Because if the question is there that you're holding two offices which are completely, you cannot really hold them legally, and then you should just do the right thing. You should just do the right thing. But the Constitution allows the members of the House to actually remove the Speaker by a two-thirds majority. So if they are serious about not being happy about Wetangula being the Speaker of the National Assembly, they have that recourse to remove him. Of course, we know that we've seen the machinations of that in Parliament. We've seen how things can just turn around. People group together and cross party lines. Um, we don't know whether it's motivated by something or whatever it is. We saw that a classic case is Gashagwa's case, where we saw them just rallying, with a lot of energy to remove him, and they crossed party lines. I think they had a super majority in the House, and that was unprecedented, completely unprecedented. And the speed and efficiency with which they carried that out was just amazing. I think it holds the record. If anybody's keeping records on how fast Parliament can act and do things, I think that's the record. Everybody was just so stunned that these guys were not, like, they were not sleeping. They were so determined to do that. So that is so. Right now, the members of Azimio who are in the House, after arguing their case and saying that really you can't ignore the court order, you need to comply with it. Honorable Millie Odhiambo said, well, we are going to do something about this. And actually they walked out of the House. They did not sit in the House after Tangula's ruling. So they left. And there was a bit of, push and not push. Of course, they didn't leave quietly. They just left the House. The other thing is about IBC. The selection panel has been constituted now, and they have received over 300 applications for people who want to be commissioners in the IBC. So they said they were estimating that by May we should have commissioners. Yeah, of course, the SHA
How many
issue
slots,
continues to.
Susan? How many slots are they?
9. There are 9, including the chair.
300
Yeah.
applications, 300
Yeah,
applications for 9 positions. Wow.
imagine that. Yeah, that's amazing. But I think it's good because it shows people are interested, despite all the, the IBC, the commissioner's position. We've seen they're not handled very well when it comes to the elections themselves. There's been a lot of mistreatment of them, a lot of fear and harassment of some sort. So I am amazed that we have 300 applications, over 300 applications. Yeah, of course, the SHA issue continues to press. Uh, it's not working still.
Mhm.
Outpatient, in particular, are suffering the most, notwithstanding the fact that the people who are employed, that their employers are deducting and sending their money. So it's not functioning very well. Um, yeah, of course, the issue of affordable housing, again, those deductions, people are still pushing on that. On the education
Yeah.
side, the
Mhm.
CBC issue and whether there's any value added in it and what it means, still, that one is causing a lot of distress. Economy,
So,
again,
Susan, when it comes
okay.
to healthcare, you're talking about healthcare and housing. In terms of
Mm.
Kenya's constitution, what does the constitution say about Kenyans' right to housing and access to healthcare, or access to, yeah, housing and healthcare?
Yeah, those are contained in the Bill of Rights of our nation.
Mm-hmm.
They're called economic, social, and cultural rights. They fall under that category, and the government is obliged to to progressively realize that for the citizens of this nation. So they're obliged to do it, but it's progressively. So it depends on how much on the economic strength of the government at the time. So it's not something that um, can be demanded overnight. So again, the issue of it is whether the strategies applied in both cases were right. I've heard, I listened to one person critiquing the SHA issue, saying it was really about, somebody's trying to collect money because they were not even prepared to roll it out. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the systems that are not working, you can't log into the system. It's a very complex, causing a lot of distress to people. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Okay.
SHA is not really
Mhm.
working really well.
Yeah.
Of course,
Okay.
the doctors. The interesting thing is that we do have doctors who are not employed, so the whole healthcare system is not working again. Because if we have doctors and they're not employed, what does that mean? Really, what does that mean? And I listened to um, he's a doctor, and he was saying the problem is it shifted the way they are employing. Now with the devolved system and county government, each county has its own employment, board,
Mhm.
and so they're saying we don't need any more doctors, and that's why doctors are not being employed. Before, they finished their degree and then they were sent to all four corners of the country. There are plenty of places to send them, but now that's not the way it is. Yeah, so that's all for me.
Okay.
Hi, Zapayaro.
Hi. Oh, let
Welcome,
me just go back.
Zapayoro. Long time. Prodigal son. Hmm?
Oh,
Prodigal member of
gosh.
the show.
I'm
Welcome to the
trying to
show.
open the. I don't know why I can't see you.
You can't
Hmm.
see us.
Okay,
Really?
I
Okay,
think I
maybe
can.
I can get you off and then you can
Yeah.
try and
Okay.
get us
I
on.
think I can see you now.
Oh,
Yeah.
can you see us now?
We can see you.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
We can barely see you. Oh, we can see you. Yeah, we can see you.
Oh,
Even with
it's
your
blur.
glasses
Yeah.
on, it's fine.
Oh.
It's a bit blood, but it's
Okay.
fine. It's okay. No problem. No problem. Yeah. And
Yeah.
wearing your
Hi,
glasses is
Susan.
just
Yeah.
fine.
Nice
How
to
have
see
you
you,
been?
Susan.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, we also want to say hi to
Hi,
Fia
how are
in the
you?
comment section. Fia, thank you for joining us.
Hi,
I
dear.
want to invite you guys to join us in the comment section. Today we have a very interesting show, and Susan basically wrapped up the Kenya constitutional upheavals that we're experiencing right now. and we have a few questions about that. The only question I have for Susan at the moment, and I'd like her to take a very short time to respond, is that when the Speaker of the House says that he hasn't seen any changes in the number of members, he hasn't received any documents or any material to show. I mean, what about the High Court's ruling? Isn't that a document? Like you said, he avoided it, but it is the judgment. Doesn't that count
Yeah,
for
actually,
anything?
that is something that is quite disturbing. His argument is that there's separation of powers. So the courts, which is one of the entities in the separation of powers, the judiciary, cannot interfere in the workings of parliament, in parliament. So he's sort of saying that they're autonomous. They cannot be checked at all by parliament, that there's no judicial issue, nothing that should have gone to the court. But you see, that's a wrong argument, because
What does the
Azimio
Constitution
went
say
to the, yeah,
in terms of the
the,
role? Are they
you know,
supposed to be working together? I don't
yes,
understand.
they're supposed to. No, each arm has its job. So the
Yeah.
legislature has the job
Mhm,
of making laws and all that.
mhm, mhm.
Executive is managing basically. Yeah. And then the judiciary is giving people recourse to the courts. So those are the three entities that are there. So when the executive or parliament exceeds its powers or does something that is erroneous, the only recourse is now to the court. So you can't say that she cannot be challenged at all. There's nobody who is above the law. So they went to court on a constitutional issue and said, there's an issue here. We are saying he's got it wrong. He has made a ruling, and that ruling is incorrect because he has accepted the 14 members moving from Azimio to Kenya Kwanza, you know, but and he claimed that he this is what he said. He said that he had received some documents from the registrar of political parties. He had received them, but you see, the courts did not receive those same documents, because
He,
when the
as an
court was
individual. Hmm.
no, they were sent to him in his capacity as the Speaker of the National Assembly
Okay.
to say
Yeah.
that these members had, they had changed they had moved from one coalition to the other. So that's what I
But
understood
again,
him to
there's an
say.
issue. There's an issue there about the what do we say? The legality of that move in terms of the timing, in terms of the what the
Yeah,
Constitution says, doesn't it? Doesn't the Constitution say, because this was post-election, these guys are elected to actually
yeah.
represent, people have voted for them to represent them. Then they get into parliament and then they move. And they're moving before the 6 months is over. I think there's a period within which they can file to move, isn't it? Wouldn't they have to leave their political party to move to another one, to resign or
Actually,
something?
you can be,
Isn't there a
yeah,
process?
you can actually be kicked out from the party, but I think that it's more complex here, because we're not talking about them moving out of their party. We're talking about them moving out of a coalition. A coalition. So it's different. It's a bit different. Moving from
Okay,
one to the
okay.
other. So it's not
So they moved
exactly,
out,
if it
yeah.
was
So they
from their
moved out of
party.
the Azimio coalition of various parties.
Yes, to
And
Kenya
okay.
Kwanza of various parties. Yeah, but
And
they're
then did they
still
join? Did
a
they join
party.
Kenya Kwanza? Did they join Kenya Kwanza, or are they still in Azimio?
Yes, they claim to have moved from Azimio to Kenya Kwanza. So there's some documents which show that they have moved from, that
That
party
cannot
has moved
possibly
from,
be.
and the whole party. Yeah, it's not right, because we can tell that was a political move. Kenya
Uh,
Kwanza, actually, if you ask me, Kenya Kwanza wanted majority in National Assembly. They didn't have
mhm,
it. So they went
mhm.
and they poached uh, uh,
Yes.
parties, 4 parties, and got at least 14 MPs, and then that's how they got the majority
Uh-huh.
now. And that's how
So
they
they
got the
put
majority.
four parties that were part of the coalition of Azimio.
Yes, Yes, and
And
that's why there's
they did that
contention.
not within the period that is allowed by the Constitution.
They
They
should,
did that
you see, the
immediately post
election,
election.
yeah, the election was over. I mean, and this was just
Yes.
before, and he wanted the majority in the House, and I'm sure that's what exactly what happened. But what we
And
can
this is
see
the
is that,
reason why this case, sorry, and this is the reason why this case was filed in October, post election. The election
yeah,
was in August. And the case was filed
yeah,
in October of 2022, actually,
yeah, yeah,
not
same
2023.
year.
And it's only being judged, passed for judgment in 2025 when the ruling when Azimio, oh, sorry, when Kenya Kwanza has been in office for 2.5 years, which represents half their period, which is supposed to be more than half. How many years do they get? 5 years.
It's 5 years, yeah.
So
So yeah,
midway through, although they said that that's because it was a participatory process, they needed to hear both sides. Does it take 2.5 years? After all, wasn't it filed as an urgent case?
no, actually, cases are supposed to be heard, especially these type of cases. They're supposed to
Yeah.
be heard expeditiously, and expeditiously means at least, within 6 months or so. That's the
Uh-huh.
acceptable period. If it goes beyond that, it's 1 year. But you see, it's beyond that. It's beyond
Yes.
that. It's taken
And
beyond that.
today,
And
yeah, today I
mhm,
heard that this case was so important, it was of national interest. In
yeah,
fact, what they're saying is that it was of national interest. It should have been treated with the priority that it deserved. Yeah. And it would have resulted in a different kind of management of the country and of policies generally. And maybe even all those Gen Z riots, protests may not have happened. You can just imagine, the, what do we say, the opportunity cost is huge for not ruling, the opportunity cost for not making a judgment or a ruling on this case earlier. It may have cost lives. Yeah.
yeah, it was,
This is
yeah,
to
justice.
me the bottom
Mm,
line. The bottom line, it's a security risk. It's a security risk. And I think the courts should tell us why they withheld the judgment. And I heard the arguments today that people were saying perhaps it's because these judges were influenced by they had other allegiances, that there was some interference from somewhere, or maybe, so yeah. So, because why? Those judges really, I mean, these courts, they should explain to us. Because in the end, it's not going to be the executive that's going to explain. It's them. They're supposed to actually rule. Yeah, they're supposed to. The legal fraternity is an independent arm of government, and they should operate independently. Obviously, they were not operating independently immediately post election. And this is why they failed us. Yeah. But anyway, thank you, Susan. I'm not going to belabor the point, and I want to ask Susan for a response. What I will do is I will now introduce Zapayoro and say, welcome to the show, Zapayoro. And Zapayoro is going to be giving us some highlights about what's happening in DRC. DRC is a kettle of worms. It's terrible. We have such a rich country, with a rich country mineral wise, like resource wise, even people wise. But the people themselves are so poor. They're wallowing in poverty. And we want to understand why. So, Zapayoro, please, welcome to the show. And thank you for coming on board.
Thank
We
you.
really
Yeah.
missed you. Did you? And I'm going to highlight you and put you up so that you can give us a little bit
Yeah.
of background on,
Okay.
DRC. Maybe just we can chat initially, maybe have a chat instead of highlighting you.
Mhm.
Give us a little bit of background, please. And
Well,
then
well,
what's
uh,
happening in Congo and where did it start and why?
well, the war in Congo is the result of many um, many conflicts, many historical developments. Uh, well, but the one we know now, as it is now, as we the War of Congo, as we know now, which was called at some point the World War of Africa, was triggered by the Rwandan genocide. You know, after the Rwandan genocide, that was in 1994. Uh, Rwanda, the new Rwandan leader, Kagame won. Okay, there are many stories about the way he came into power in the first place, but he has done many bad things. But we are not going to focus on what he is doing in Congo. Yeah. So after that, okay, it's important to remember that to remember that uh, Laurent Desire Kabila, the father, they call him in Congo Mzee. Mzee came into power in in 1996. You know. So it was backed when it came into power by Rwanda and are you still around? Am I still with you? Oh,
Yes,
I
we
can see
can hear
myself.
you.
Okay. Ah,
We
okay,
can
okay.
hear you.
Oh, yeah. No, I see. Okay,
You're
yeah,
missing us. You're
yeah.
missing us. I'm trying to highlight you so that people can focus on Congo. Okay,
Ah,
stay
okay,
with
yeah.
us. Stay with us
But
here.
yeah. So Mzee came into power after
Mm-hmm.
overthrowing Mobutu.
Mm-hmm.
But he was backed by the Rwandan army led by Kagame and the Ugandan army led by Museveni. So after winning, they had some kind of an agreement, and Rwanda and Uganda were expecting to have access to the minerals of Congo. Uh, and then they wanted him to allow some elements of their army to join the Congolese army. So it, at some point they fell out, because Kabila Mzee was a patriot. He said, "Okay, you help me to overthrow Mobutu, but I cannot sell out my country." So that's where the conflict now started. So, in the first place, Rwanda and Uganda sent their armies through using the false flag. I mean, under the banner of rebels. You know, but those rebels were defeated. Why? Because other African countries in the region joined DRC. DRC, which was Zaire before, and then when Kabila came into power, it was called DRC. So there was Angola, Zimbabwe, and Namibia. They joined DRC to fight the Rwandan and uh, and Ugandan forces. But eventually they came into they started the talk because so many people died. You're talking about 5 million Congolese, 5 million people who died. After that, Kabila himself in between passed away and his son took over. So it is clear that it is obvious that to everybody that Kabila was assassinated. I think he was poisoned, and then his son took over. His son is Joseph Kabila. So that was in I was talking about 1996 to 2003. Yeah. So after that now,
Mm-hmm.
when Kabila, the son, took over, the conflict started again, and this time it was a different face. It was a different face because the Rwandan forces were not happy. They created a group of rebels called the CNDP. or in English is the National Congress for Defense of the People.
Mm-hmm.
And a continuation of that CNDP was created in March 2023. So it was the 23rd of March 2023. So that's why it's called M23. So that's the one now you hear about. You know.
Mm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that movement now started again the hostilities against the government, but Kabila the son managed to defeat them in 2013. But they were defeated because of international pressure. And the UN forces even helped Kabila to fight M23.
Mm-hmm.
So they were defeated. But in
So let me ask
reality,
a question. You
recently
said
there's a
M23, Zapayoro, you said M23 is comprised of who? Rwanda and who? Which countries?
well, these are M23 are Rwandan forces basically,
Mm-hmm.
but what the way they are
Okay.
presented, uh,
But
sometimes, yeah,
yeah, the president of Rwanda keeps saying that there are some Congolese forces, so Congolese in who are also part of the M23.
yeah, they
He
use
claims
some
that it's
Congolese
not
people.
just Rwandan forces.
Yeah, they use some Congolese forces. That's what they do almost everywhere. They use some Congolese forces to present it just as the face. For example, now there's a guy from Congo. His name is Corneille Nanga. So Nanga is the face of M23. And sometimes they say, no, it is not Rwandan people. It is Banyamulenge people. Banyamulenge people are actually have been living in Congo for a long time. And they said that the Congolese
Exactly. They have been talking
are
about, if I might just interrupt just a bit. Exactly. I
yeah.
wanted to ask you that question to clarify, because the
Hmm.
way the international media is presenting it, it's as
Yeah.
if that it's as if Rwanda actually is only trying to claim, I mean, to look, should I say, to protect its people in Eastern Congo, in Goma, to
Yeah.
protect
Okay.
its own Rwandese people who are on the other side of the border. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
argument is that there's no country in Africa that doesn't
Mhm.
have on the border states or the border provinces. There's no country that doesn't have the same people on either side. In Tanzania, we have Masais on both sides.
Mhm.
And in Tanzania, they are called Tanzanian Masais. In Kenya, they're called Kenyan Masais. And the same thing, we also have Somalis, and we have Kenyan Somalis, and we have Somalis in Somalia. So it's the same
Mhm.
thing, I guess, in Congo, where we have the Rwandese on one side and on the other side.
Mhm.
So the argument that I heard Kagame when he was being interviewed was that the reason why the M23 is in Congo is to protect their own people who are being attacked in Eastern
Mhm.
Congo. And now
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
telling us a totally different story, which is good. It's good to hear it from you
Yeah.
because you're also
Actually,
multilingual and you get your news in many languages, which also
yeah.
helps.
It's a
Mhm.
justification because you need for war you need the justification. And when when they did, well, I would say uh, the Western powers and their puppets usually what they do, they kill many birds with one stone. Yeah. So by overthrowing first Abiyarimana in Kenya, sorry, in Kenya, no, in Rwanda, they were taking over. I mean, America was taking over and kicking the French people out because France was protecting Abiyarimana, Juvenal Abiyarimana, the president of Rwanda. And at the same time, they needed to destabilize Congo because of the resources of Congo. So the same guy who's put in power in Rwanda will be used to destabilize Congo so they can have access because of chaos, access to the resources because of chaos. So what they did at first, when the genocide happened in Rwanda, many Hutus, people Hutu went to Congo. Of course, it's not only Hutus who fled, who ran away to Congo. There was also Banyamulenge people and Banyarwanda people. But then what Mobutu did, Mobutu, he welcomed them as refugees and he protected them. He did not touch them because he kind of smelled, you know, it kind of smelled a trap. And he was very open to collaboration. He said, oh, okay, I have the people here, I'm going to protect them. So then, what now? You notice that in the communication of Kagame, at some point, Kagame started accusing some Rwandan people in Congo trying to start a rebellion against Rwanda, against his regime. I don't know if you follow me.
Yes, yes,
Hmm?
yes. I do follow you.
So
So the
those
people who
Rwandan people
escaped
were living,
from Rwanda to
the
Congo,
refugees.
yeah, the
Yeah,
refugees were now
Mobutu
attacking.
protected
Okay.
them.
Hmm.
Yeah, Mobutu protected them. But you know, when they want, when the wolf wants to eat the lamb, it will use any argument, so any justification, because Mobutu protected them. Now they want to say that Mobutu is protecting or is hosting a rebellion that
Is
will
it
come and
Mobutu
attack
or
Rwanda.
Kabila?
No, Mobutu first.
Okay,
Okay,
Mobutu first. Okay.
okay, yeah, because actually, yeah, when the genocide happened, Mobutu was still in power in Congo. Okay,
Oh, oh, I
but
see. Okay, yeah,
as a
that's true.
consequence of the genocide, many
94.
Banyamulenge people and Banyarwanda and Hutu people went to Congo and they were refugees there. And Mobutu protected them. And now Mobutu saw that, notice that in the communication of Kagame, who was in power now, Kagame was accusing Congo of hosting Rwandan people in Congo who were planning to attack Rwanda as a rebellion. Hutu people, especially Hutu people. You see? So Mobutu offered this collaboration. He said, no problem. If you think that those people are a threat to your regime, I'm ready to send them back to Rwanda. And the godfathers of Kagame, the Americans, immediately started a campaign on the international scene to say that Mobutu, by sending those people, removing them from Congo and sending them to Rwanda, it is breaking the laws for protection of refugees and humanitarian protection. So Mobutu is stuck. He wants to collaborate. They He doesn't protect the lives of refugees. He doesn't protect refugees. He wants to protect them. Kagame is saying no. He wants to protect. He wants to host a rebellion. That was the situation of Mobutu. So I don't know if you see the game. The game was already, the plan was already set that they were going to destabilize Congo. So whatever Mobutu would do will be used as a justification to attack and destabilize him. You see? Okay. And eventually, what happened is that the Rwandan army and the Ugandan army backed a rebel, Mzee Kabila. I mean, we call him Laurent Desire Kabila, Mzee, the father, to come and overthrow Mobutu. And Mobutu was overthrown. Yeah. So that's the game. But when they backed Kabila, Mzee Kabila, they had agreements with him. We are going to help you overthrow Mobutu, but we want something. Your country has resources. We want to have influence in your army and everything. So we agree. And Mzee agreed with them. But when he came into power, when he overthrew Mobutu and came into power, they fell out again. He did not, he said, no, 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 I cannot sell my country out. I cannot sell out my country to you guys. So they decided now to attack Kabila Mzee. But Kabila was lucky. Back in the days, there was Mugabe and some other African countries in the region that helped him fight back. So that's so I hope that phase is clear to you now.
Yeah, I just want to jump in there. the issue of going into another state purportedly to rescue your people or whatever it is, there are issues, international law issues of sovereignty of a state. You just can't just march into another, place and decide that you're going to rescue your people. I mean, what would be happening in this continent for sure? We have Kalenjins on both sides of on the Ugandan border and the Kenyan border, and both of them are running really well. So, that is completely, is excuse my French, a nonsensical argument. You can definitely see there's a trap there. And then, the principle around not sending people back into a country where they're likely to be killed, sending refugees back, is called refoulement. So they can't do that, and that's actually contrary to human rights law and international. You can actually not send them into a war zone. You can't send them back into a war zone. You're prohibited from doing that.
Exactly. So that's the argument the Americans use against Mobutu, because if he had actually sent them, because it is politics, and sometimes politics, they know how to go around the laws. If he had managed to send them to Rwanda, then there will be no more excuse, for Kagame to destabilize, to threaten Congo anymore. But it was stopped by the Americans. You cannot send them back. You see? But eventually, when they want to eat you, they will eat you. So they eventually sent, somebody from Congo, who was Laurent Désiré Kabila, Mzee Kabila, to come and overthrow Mobutu. But he was backed by Rwandan and Ugandan forces.
So now, what is the situation currently? Maybe giving it to us in
so
brief.
Because it's about the M23. And so when the M23 was defeated in 2013 because of international pressure, and because now it has been revealed that actually Kabila, the son, not the father, Mzee died, and Kabila, the son, Joseph Kabila, took over. But Mzee was paying money to Rwanda every year. I cannot tell you the amount now, but it's a huge amount of money. That's what the member of the government revealed, of the Congolese government revealed recently. Because people asked the Congolese government, how did Joseph Kabila manage to defeat M23? And you, the government of Tshisekedi, you are not capable of defeating M23. Then the government came out and said, well, actually, you guys don't know what was happening. M23 had gone quiet, not because they had been defeated, but because Rwanda was receiving money every year. This is what the Congolese government is saying. See? So,
so kind of to appease Rwanda and let them access some of the resources of the Congo would actually send some money to Rwanda. And now they're not receiving it anymore. So M23 is back.
Exactly. When Tshisekedi came into power, he stopped that transaction, that trade, buying peace, So Rwanda, to understand, it's important, to understand that the position of Rwanda is in a position where it has built an economy based on stealing, on reaping, from Congo. So Rwanda cannot survive like that, overnight, if there's a change and where they don't have access to the resources of Congo anymore. You see, so that's the situation. They have built some kind of a parasitical economy, and that's the situation of Rwanda. So M23 is the face of Rwandan.
So Rwanda is actually parasitical on Congo, just the same way that France has been parasitical on the Sahel region.
Yes.
This is shocking for an African country to be parasiting on another African country.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very amazing.
They built an economic model based on that. I know something similar happened in West Africa, in Ivory Coast. by the time Gbagbo came into power, when he was in the opposition, he had received the support of the president of Burkina Faso, who was a puppet before. His name was Blaise Compaoré. He had received the support, and then he said that, okay, when you come into power, I want to have access to the port, to the harbor to the port of Abidjan. I want to have access without paying. And now, when Gbagbo eventually came into power, Gbagbo said, okay, you help me, fine, but I cannot sell out my country. I cannot give you access. So Blaise Compaoré now became an enemy to Gbagbo, and he decided to host the rebels who were going to overthrow Gbagbo with the help of France, of course. But anyway, these such things happen. You know. So Rwanda now is in that situation where it has built its economy on stealing from Congo, and since Rwanda is supplying those minerals to the European Union and to Western powers, then it is protected by those same powers. Recently, last year, the EU signed a memorandum of agreement with Congo on about the resources. So
with Rwanda.
Yeah, sorry, with Rwanda, yeah.
Yeah.
So Tshisekedi, the president of Congo, is really, we don't understand if he's being naive or if he's playing with people's mind, but you cannot rely on the international community, I mean France and the US, to help you while they are the ones backing the same country that is attacking you. And it has been
pillaging.
proved. Yeah, it has been proved even by the expert of the United Nations that Rwanda is behind M23, and the goals of Rwanda are territory expansion and as well stealing the resources of Congo. It has been proved already. The evidence is out there, and everybody knows. So that's the situation of M23. So now,
so now that they have captured Goma, what does that mean?
Yeah, it is actually a strategy. The strategy is we want to control the Kivu. The Kivu is about controlling the Kivu region. After Goma, there's also Bukavu, and they need to control that part so that they secure the resources, the access to the resources. See, because Kivu is if not the richest, but one of the richest part of Congo. Yeah, the Kivu. So now they are in the North Kivu, but they will reach the South Kivu if you give them if they can. Yeah. So yeah. So
Wow.
but the thing is that this conflict might expand. Because there were 9 countries before involved in it. It might expand, and other countries in the region might be pulled into that conflict. Like
what
Kenya,
about the
for
role of
example.
South Africa?
Yes, South Africa. Yes, South Africa is there, and South Africa is there under the UN, or the international force. Sorry, under the international forces. But South Africa is showing hostility towards Rwanda.
Yeah.
Yeah, towards Rwanda.
Is Congo part of SADC? I wonder.
Yeah, both SADC and the SADC
and the East African community.
And the Central Africa community as well. So it is part of 2 communities.
Central Africa or East Africa? East Africa.
Central Africa community and East Africa community.
Is there Central Africa community?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
What I know is ECOWAS. I know ECOWAS.
Yeah, there's Central Africa
Economic Commission
as well.
Yeah. Okay.
That's of West African states. ECOWAS is of West African
there is
states.
CAS. There is Central African states.
ECOWAS, ECOWAS is
Central African states.
Yeah,
wow,
but did you say sorry? Did you say South Africa and Central Africa?
No, it's part of East Africa and Central Africa. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
The economic bloc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like Tanzania. Tanzania is part of SADC. It's also part of EAC.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
Oh,
it's
sorry.
I think
Yeah.
it's just this. It's part of
Congo.
EAC. Congo
Yeah,
is
it's
part of
the same
EAC.
organization as South Africa, and the same as Congo as well.
Yeah,
As Kenya.
yeah.
Sorry.
As
Congo.
Kenya, that's EAC. That's EAC.
EAC. Yeah,
Okay,
it's EAC
EAC,
and also
East
South
African
Africa.
Community.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So wow, and now we are seeing our president Ruto is brokering. Ruto
Hmm.
and the president of not Tanzania, was it Zimbabwe,
Hmm.
trying to broker a peace deal. And
Hmm.
I think they have decided that immediately that they're going to have a ceasefire in the Congo.
Yeah. Yeah. Congo, Kenya has played a role, first diplomatic role. The first time it was under Uhuru's rule.
Hmm.
Kenya had even sent the forces there, but at some point, Congo accused the Kenyan forces of not really being capable of stopping the progress of M23. So Kenya
Uh-huh.
withdrew its forces. Yeah,
Hmm.
a year later. So this year now, I see that Ruto is trying to get involved. But to be honest, if you listen to Congolese politicians, there are many suspicions and accusations towards regarding Kenya, saying that Kenya as a country is benefiting from the mineral trafficking, because
Hmm.
those minerals of Congo go to the west through different routes,
Hmm.
and Kenyan business people, have taken advantage of the situation, to make money.
Hmm.
So these are the accusations from Congolese politicians. So I think Kenya is not seen as I would say as very neutral in that whole
Hmm.
issue. Yeah,
So Kenya would probably be seen on the same level as Rwanda, wanting to pillage
yeah,
the DRC.
yeah.
Very
Supporting
sad.
even if
Yeah,
it's not
very sad.
involved, but yeah,
Yeah,
like
we've heard
Uganda
it on
is
this
involved.
side. We've heard that
Uganda
on this side.
and Rwanda are involved, but other countries, yeah, sometimes well they say that they are playing that game, maintaining the status quo. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so those are the Congo highlights, guys. Thank you so much. I think we can stop there if that's okay.
Mhm.
Are you okay with that, or did you want to say something else, Zapayoro?
Oh, well, we see what is going to happen because Congolese people are dying,
Okay.
and
Yes, Congolese people are dying. It's true.
yeah, and okay, only between the second phase of the war, uh, between 1998 and 2023, you're talking about 5 million Congolese who died. That's a huge. That's really really bad, and
It's
now you have
unbelievable.
people who are people citizens who are trying to defend themselves, like
Hmm.
Wazalendo groups, and there's even a group that was created to free Rwanda. I mean, you are Rwandan rebels here in Congo. Yeah, so it is
To
really
free
becoming
Rwanda
very,
or to free Congo?
yeah, to a rebellion, a Rwandan rebellion to attack Kagame. Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
Kagame. So we
Okay.
don't
In
know
the Congo.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, in Congo, we don't know if it
Hmm.
is actually backed by Congo or backed by Kagame himself to create some kind of a justification of him interfering in Congo. He might also create a rebellion in Congo and use it as a justification. But
Uh-huh.
Kagame is like, is giving very ambiguous
Mixed signals.
mixed,
Hmm.
yeah, signals, So it is, at first he was being very successful, diplomatically, because he had a very coherent speech. But now he's saying, I sometimes he will say, no, I don't know what is going on in Congo. Sometimes you say, okay, I want to protect my people. Sometimes say, no,
Yeah.
there's a threat on me, and blah 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 blah. So now, at least diplomatically, Kagame is losing.
Hmm.
But militarily speaking, and that's the most important, it still has the grip on North Kivu. That's the situation. And so the Wazalendo fighting, we're trying, but then the most you know the more disappointing is the attitude of the Congolese government. You cannot win if you're seeking help from the godfathers of Kagame. It is not possible. What
Yeah.
happened last
Uh-huh.
year is Tshisekedi eventually had a talk with Russian authorities to start a military collaboration, and Russia communicated on it. Russia communicated that yes, we met the Congolese authorities, and we are really open to reinforcing our military and security collaboration. Then immediately the next day, in the following hours, Congolese government said no. They denied it. No, 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 no. We never met the Russian authorities. We never did that. Why? Because they are scared of the reaction, of Western powers. So how
Okay,
can they win?
okay.
Yeah, how can they win? How can they win? Because you'll be playing games. You see, the EU is taking
We
advantage.
have a story of that one, like the hyena. Is it the
Yeah,
hyena that wants to follow two different paths?
yeah,
Yeah, and eventually he
exactly.
gets split up
Split
in
up.
half.
That's exactly what is
So you want to
happening.
go and eat from this side and you want to eat from this side. And I'm sure the Western governments are very keen to
Yeah,
appear as if they are helping the
yeah, as if
Congolese.
they are helping.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Whereas they, because they also fear perhaps that the Congo might decide to go to, to Russia for support,
exactly. So
or
you
even
have to
China,
choose your side.
you
You have to
know?
choose your side because, yeah,
Yeah.
that's happened to many
Yeah.
countries. They decided to choose a side. Yeah, but
Yeah.
those
Looks like a
African
very
politicians,
complicated situation in the
it
Congo,
is
in the
very complex.
DRC.
Yeah, but those
Very
African
complicated.
politicians, be it Tshisekedi himself or his opponent Martin Fayulu, who else? Because the problem is the Congolese political class, very corrupt,
Hmm.
puppets, on both sides, be it on the majority side or the opposition. Because even Fayulu has connection with the same powers. Fayulu is the opponent. He has connection with the same powers.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Is
And
the opponent of
another opponent, yeah, big
Tshisekedi.
one as well.
Hmm.
Katumbi also has the same
Who
connection.
is
Even Joseph,
Katumbi?
yeah, Katumbi is another opponent as well in the Katanga.
Hmm.
Is one of the biggest opponents. And even Kabila, even the son, Kabila also had connection with the same powers. So that's the political class. Tshisekedi, he must. I mean, I'm not sure 100%, but we know that most of them are like that. They have accounts, they have properties in Western in Europe, and they are afraid of that. They are afraid of losing those things, because
Hmm.
yeah,
So they're
that's the
selling out
situation.
their country, actually.
Yeah, that's the situation.
Okay.
Mm.
Susan, do you have anything to say?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a tragic situation for sure. I mean, as Zapayoro was telling that story, it just reminded me of the book The Godfather, where you have the uh, there's like a mob boss sort of thing, paying for protection, or paying for that, or paying for the other. And just to think that the value of human life is so low that
yeah,
they can
Hmm.
get into monetary, something for monetary gain. Even thinking about the other countries who pop in and out from time to time, is because of their personal gain, as nations. I know
yeah,
Kenyans. There are a lot of Kenyans in that area, in the Goma area in particular. I think
Hmm.
they had, they were there. They had businesses which were thriving and everything, and perhaps the suspicion uh, is not unwarranted in terms of why somebody would be very keen to speak up in such a situation. But definitely, war in this region is not right, and not failing to recognize the entitlement of a nation to thrive. for its sovereignty and just keep interfering from both on the continent and beyond, because there's serious puppeteering and manipulations actually coming from the West,
Yeah.
because of the
Mm-hmm.
gain. And as
Mm-hmm.
Zapatero said, the pathways of getting the goodies out is through our nations, the
Yeah.
surrounding nations, So to
Mhm.
some degree, are we complicit in it? And, shows that, you know, human rights are trumped by politics. Politics and economic gain really, trump it. And I'm happy at least the Americans were able to stop, uh, the president of Congo, uh, of DRC, from sending back the the Rwandese people back to
Mhm.
Rwanda, because it's likely they would have not perhaps survived that, whatever. So
Well,
yeah, I just
yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry. So yeah. What I would say is that Kagame actually it's all communication actually, because even sending the Rwandese people back to Rwanda, it would have been something symbolic, because Kagame doesn't even need people. First, base in the first place, know that it is not true. He wasn't looking for those people in Congo, those refugees. He knew that. He even needed them there. You see what I mean? So Kagame is known for pursuing his opponents wherever they are in the world. He managed to assassinate people who were in Kenya, who were in Canada, yeah, everywhere in the world. So if he wanted
South
to get
Africa
South
as
Africa,
well.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the guy eventually went. He was killed in South Africa. I think the Kenyan opponent, no, the guy was living in Kenya. The Rwandan opponent was living in Kenya. I think they almost killed him. They didn't get him in
Mm-hmm. I
Kenya,
don't
but they
think they killed
eventually
him though.
killed
Mm-hmm.
him in South Africa. Yes, sorry.
Mm-hmm. He
Even
was in
in
South Africa.
Canada, he has a system where he gives scholarships to women to go to Canada, pretending they are going to study, but they are going to go there and seduce an opponent who is there, a refugee, and then poison him, find a way to get him. So it is official. That information is public knowledge. So
Mm-hmm.
it is not. You shouldn't worry about those refugees, because if he wanted to get them, he will get them. It's easy to get them
Mm-hmm.
in Congo. You see, yeah. So that's Kagame's game. But I had a question regarding what you said about the international laws, because when I followed the story in Ukraine, uh, the the law that the justification that Russia used eventually was to protect. No, in the first place, sorry, was to protect. But I think it is every country, every government has the right to protect
It's
people.
sovereignty.
Yeah, no, to
Mm-hmm.
protect people who
Mm.
are endangered somewhere. You see, this is what Russia used. Like the community, the Russian-speaking community in Donbass was, according to Putin, to the Russian government, was experiencing genocide. So he wants to protect them. So that's how he interfered there. And then later on, the authorities of those regions signed to join Russia. And then he said, okay, now I'm lawfully there now. See? But
Mm-hmm.
that idea of protecting, humanitarian protection, is it not a strong justification to interfere in another territory?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they have been using that in many instances. For example, in Gambia, when they wanted to overthrow, when the international community wanted to overthrow Yaya Jammeh in Gambia, they could not use democracy. They said he wants to kill his people. In Ivory Coast, it's the same. Gbagbo was overthrown because France said Gbagbo is killing his own people,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they sent the
Mm-hmm.
army there and they overthrew him. And Gaddafi, the same. They say Gaddafi is killing his own people, and then they got yeah. a mandate from the UN, and they interfered in Libya and they overthrew Gaddafi and they killed him. So I don't know what are the restrictions, in terms of interfering to protect humans, in other territories.
Mm-hmm.
What are the limitation to that?
Yeah, certainly it's a ploy. Like you said, somebody has decided they want to get in there anyway, and they're going to use whatever methods they want
Yeah,
to get in there. And it's a ploy to say we're acting to protect a certain group of people.
group of
But
people.
there's some tensions with the sovereignty of the state. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
there's
tension.
some tensions with that argument, and they use that excuse really to get into the borders to protect. But you see what happens most of the time when they do that, they don't leave.
No.
They leave the place in a mess. They don't leave. So that puts a big question mark on the whole thing. Certainly, yeah, the Ukraine issue, in fact, it was very tricky the way he did it. He actually, if I'm not wrong, there was actually a referendum that was held, isn't
Yeah.
it? So that they would say that, oh, we want to go to Russia. The Russian speaking people, they wanted to associate with Russia
Yeah.
down
Eventually,
in the south. Yeah. And
eventually.
it's really, yeah, and he was doing that again even while the war was going on. I remember
Yeah.
when I was following it very closely. He was trying to get people to say they want to be, part of Russia.
Yeah.
When they destroyed these some of the cities, they would try to get the people to
Mhm.
say that they want to join Russia and say justify, you know,
Yeah.
that actually these people wanted to be under Russian authority and not under Ukrainian authority. Though
Yeah.
we know actually that was an imperialist activity.
Hmm.
He has always felt that Ukraine is part of Russia, you know,
Yeah.
and so it should not exist as an independent state. In fact, they were even being stopped from speaking their own language. The Ukrainians
Yeah.
have their own language, and the Russians have their own language, and so they were being stopped from speaking their own language. So it's quite a tricky thing. The right to self determination, the right to sovereignty, and
Yeah.
then you have somebody with imperialist views going back in history to a different time, when in actual fact, the Ukrainians and the Russians are two different people. They're not the same people. If I'm not wrong, they're actually not the same people. They're
Yeah.
descendants from different lines. Yeah.
In my understanding, Susan, okay, that's one argument. That's one argument. If you look at Putin as somebody who doesn't see the Ukrainians as being independent and that they should be part of Russia, but also it's that Ukraine has resources, is a very rich part of that area, and it has resources that Russia, I think, needs access to. That's one. The other thing is that I thought, and I think Zapatero can explain it a bit better, is that I think Putin was, what do we say, suspecting or accusing the US of using Ukrainians against Russia.
Yeah. That's the main
That
reason.
was the reason. It's not because Putin didn't want Ukraine to be independent, but it was something to do with the fact that Zelensky was being used by the US. At least that was the accusation, that he was being used by the US, the Democratic then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually.
Okay, you explain it to
Oh,
us a
sorry,
bit
sorry,
better.
sorry. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry to
please do.
interrupt you.
Explain it. Explain it.
Actually, yeah. Okay, Susan. The first thing to remember is that Russia is a huge country. It's such a big country that I think it's the biggest country in the world. And
Mhm.
Canada and Russia have the same syndrome: is that they are so big as countries that they are not even able to exploit, to use the whole territory. You
Mhm.
know, and and Russia is a very rich country in terms of resources. So it is not really like it's not predation. Like I want resources, I want country. um, what happened is that in Ukraine, you have okay, they are all Slavians people. Huh? I mean, like Ukrainians, Russians, but in the the eastern side of Ukraine in Donbass, they are Russian speakers. Okay? And then they wanted autonomy. They wanted autonomy. See? So regarding the people of Donbass, and they wanted autonomy, so this triggered a war. So the war started, and in 2014, people have been killed. Okay, since Yanukovych was removed from power, because there was a president called Yanukovych. He was neutral. He was between Russia and Europe, and the European wanted him to sign agreements with them, and he said, "Okay, I want to come up to something balanced." And then the US managed to take advantage of that situation of pressure, of tension, to create a coup. And Victoria
Mm-hmm.
Nuland was there on the field. Victoria Nuland and McCain even went there. They were even distributing food to rioters. So the coup happened in 2014, and Yanukovych was overthrown from power. So since then, the people of Donbass have been victimized. They have been killed, and there have been Minsk agreement. I mean, Minsk in Belarus. They signed a Minsk agreement so that they stop this. And France and Germany were supposed to watch for that agreement to be implemented, which they didn't. The Ukraine, the Ukrainian government kept persecuting the people of Donbass. This is a fact. The next president, the Ukrainian president now was Poroshenko, and then after Poroshenko now lost the election, he lost against Zelensky. When Zelensky came with a promise that he was going to bring peace. So even the people of Donbass, the Russian speakers, voted massively for Zelensky because he promised that you are no longer going to be persecuted. You'll be free to speak your language, because actually, who was prevented to speak their language? It is not the Ukrainian. The Ukrainian is a language, official language in Ukraine. It is the people, the Russian speakers, who were prevented from speaking Russian in Ukraine. Russian language was banned, but those people, they speak Russian, you see, in Donbass, you see. So they were under persecution. So now, all this time now, they wanted Russia to come and interfere, and they wanted to join Russia. And Putin knew that he was not able, he couldn't do that. Why? Because he was not ready for war. He was not ready for war. He knew that there would be the sanctions from the West, and he would be isolated on the international community. So he didn't want to join until he was ready. Now he decided not to start the war to bring Donbass people into Russia. But honestly, even the doctrine of Russian war now in Ukraine, it is not territory, because they have a huge territory already. They have resources. But what Russia is really interested in that part of the world, it is access to warm seas, access to the sea. Yeah. And this is, on a geopolitical perspective, this is what the interest of Russia. For now, Russia has access through Crimea, but it's not enough. They want direct access to the sea, from their land. Yeah. So if they manage to win and get Odessa, if they manage to win and reach Odessa, then they have access to the sea. To the sea. But so this is now the aspect there. I mean, the territory question and the geopolitical question. But regarding Russia has a very strong reason as well. Not that I'm siding with Russia, regarding its security, because if the US manages to overthrow the Ukrainian government, they overthrew Yanukovych, and they take Zelensky. Zelensky now might decide to join NATO. And Russia said, no, this is a red line. Because if Ukraine joins NATO, NATO will have the right to go and put the borders the weapons at the border of Russia. And whatever you do, whatever technology you have, once somebody is too close to you, if they want to hit you, they will hit you. You see what I mean? It's the same as Cuba and the US. If Russia goes and puts nuclear warhead in Cuba, whatever the technology, whatever shield America has, timing is key. If they launch, they will hit you before you can even react. So Russia has a point. That one, to be fair, Russia has a point that Ukraine should not join NATO. See,
Hmm.
so you can be a sovereign nation, but international laws and practices say that you should not ensure your security at the expense of other nations. This is what the international law says. You can ensure your security, but not at the expense of other nations. So Cuba can assure insecurity, say, okay, fine, we want weapons, nuclear warheads from Russia, but at the border of the US, this is not acceptable. The US will react, you see. So yeah, just to bring a different view, on that, because it's another very complex conflict. Yeah.
I think we need another one, another topic on Russia and Ukraine,
Mm.
Cuba and America. If we
Yeah.
can ever get to do that. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's good to know. It's good to understand, geopolitics, guys. It's good. It's good. I hope you guys have learned a lot. Our show is an educative show. It's also entertaining. Hopefully, we're entertaining you and not boring you to death, to tears. The best way to listen to or to watch us is not really to see us, but it's mainly to listen. So if you are driving a long distance, you can get headphones or put it on loudspeaker, and listen as you're stuck in traffic. If you're doing housework, this is a really good show to listen to because you get to learn and you get to hear people's viewpoints and you can also contribute. Okay. So today I really want to thank our co-hosts, our hosts and co-hosts, our hosts. We're all hosts here and co-hosts, right? So I really want to thank Zapayoro for joining us, and we hope that he's going to come and join us again soon because it's always so intriguing to listen to him. Susan as well, thank you so much, Susan, for the clarifications. And I didn't know that you know so much about geopolitics as well, which is good. We need to delve into that area because we need to be educated. I don't know why it is that Africans are so quiet, and we rarely discuss international politics. We should. We have a right to. We have a responsibility to. We are part of the world. We're part of the universe. There's no reason why we should only just be focusing narrowly on our continent because the whole world also impacts on us and we impact it. So let's discuss. Let's be open and free to discuss and come on board and let's talk geopolitics. Now, today is Wednesday. That's the end of our political shows. On Friday, we have our relationship show. And I promise to make it a fun show. I'm sure we're going to pick a very important topic, to discuss that will be of great interest. And that's going to be a secret. So just watch out for this channel. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to have to wrap up this show because it's gone a little bit beyond. We're trying to keep our show to no more than about 1 hour and a half. So I think we've gotten it about there right now. So, Susan and Zapayoro, thank you so much for your contributions. And I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Thank you very much, Fia, for being on the show, for being on the live show. I saw some of you guys come in and out. And if you're going to be watching it after the recorded, you're going to be watching the recorded version, please remember to thumbs up our videos if you enjoy them and also write a comment. Thank you very much for those of you who are sending me comments on WhatsApp. But please also write your comments inside the YouTube or Facebook or inside the StreamYard so that the algorithm can pick up our show and keep showing. So we're happy with the viewership and we hope that you're going to share these shows with other people and also invite more people to join us in studio. Welcome and again, and see you. Welcome on Friday, and good night and good day to all of you from the African Queen Mo channel. It's Kwaherini. Bye bye.
Go ahead, Ine. Yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.